who want to claim that the Moors just refer to Berbers or Arabs and not blacks or Negroes.
Okay, this is an English encyclopedia, 1816. Okay, Moor, mud, clay, earth, Moor, Morus, black, a Negro, a black Moor. I shall answer that better than you can the getting up of the Negro's belly. The Moor is with child by you. Robert Ainsworth Dictionary, English and Latin, with 1773. Okay, see the cursor? Follow the cursor. Morris, Niger. We know what Niger is referencing. A black Moor. Morris. Belonging to the Moors. Okay. A new Latin English dictionary. Okay, I believe that this year is 1792. So this is also from the 18th century. Okay. Okay, follow the cursor or the little hand here. Can't really highlight it, but see I'm signaling over here. It says a Moor or black Moor. It's an or black Moor. So basically, black Moor, Moor, same thing. Ethiops. Okay. I'm signaling it right here. Morus, a black Moor. A Negro or Negro. Ethiops. Morus.
Now, some may look at this and they may say, well, it's obvious that there were Moors of different races. They're mentioning blackamoors as if it is something different. Well, if that was the case, this blackamoor would not be under the definition of Moor, just Moor. It would be more the other way around. You would look up blackamoor and it would give you a definition saying something like a Moor who is of Negro descent. Obviously, this definition of Moor is telling you that a Moor could not be Caucasian or white. A Moor is someone of Negro descent. They are black. And why was there a need to make this clear? Obviously, there had been a lot of racial mixing over time. And this led to those who may have been referred to as Moors becoming lighter skinned or whiter skinned. So it appears here that they had to make it clear that Moor is synonymous with blackamoor, is synonymous with black, is synonymous with Negro. In other words, when they're talking about Moors, they're not talking about these Caucasian Berbers or whatever, or these Caucasian Arabs or just Muslims of any race. They're specifically talking about black Negroes when they are referring to Moors. These are the original people referred to as Moors. Why is it that all of these dictionaries and encyclopedias from the 18th century, and this is during the Enlightenment era, why is it that they all define Moor, black, Negro synonymously? Right here, the New and Complete Dictionary of the English Language, this is 1775. Moor is defined as a Negro, a black. Negro, black, Moor, synonymous. Now this one's from the 19th century, 1873. Dictionary of the German and English Languages, page 615. It defines Moor, M-O-H-R, it's spelled. A blackamoor, a Negro, a Negress, a Negro woman.
The year is 1756. Samuel Johnson Dictionary of the English Language. Follow the cursor here. The cursor is going to change to the selection tool, so I'm going to have to highlight it. Okay, over here on your right, you have top at the right, have Moor. Definition, a Negro, a blackamoor. Highlighted it again. A Negro, a blackamoor. And a Moor is not being defined as a Muslim or a Berber. It just says Moor. A Negro, a blackamoor. Okay, now let's look up the word Negro. Follow the cursor. Okay, I'm going to highlight it. See where I'm highlighting it down here? Negro. A blackamoor. Brown. See that? Where I have it highlighted in blue down here to your left. So it is obvious that Negro is synonymous with Moor, is synonymous with black.
And look at this from the Negro Law of South Carolina, which was originally printed in 1848. In section 4 it reads, "The term Negro is confined to slave Africans, the ancient Berbers, and their descendants. It does not embrace the free inhabitants of Africa, such as the Egyptians, Moors, or the Negro Asiatics, such as Lascars." Now, why would there be a need to specify this if the Egyptians and the Moors were not black people? Remember, in my earlier videos, I explained how Negro was a tag that they placed on the black Africans whom they chose to enslave. Although at one time, we were all referred to as Ethiops, Moors. They saw us all the same because we look the same pretty much. And it's obvious that an Egyptian and a Moor could be easily mistaken for a so-called Negro. That is also why you had the Moors Sundry Act of 1790. Now, as someone questioned, if the Moors were these Caucasian Arabs, why would they have to plead with the court to not judge them under Negro law? Obviously, they were being mistaken for the enslaved Africans who were tagged as Negro. And for those who say that the Moors were Berbers, not blacks, notice how the so-called Negroes are referred to as being the ancient Berbers here. And notice how they refer to the Lascars as Negro Asiatics. Obviously, with the Negro Law of South Carolina, there was a need to specify all people who could be enslaved as a Negro or who could be put under Negro law, considering that they could all pass for Negro, being that they were black. And I'm not just talking about in complexion. You would not mistaken this person for a Negro. And notice in the 1783 dictionary and Universal Etymological English Dictionary, Negro, now not Moor, but Negro is defined as one born in Nigritia in Africa or of Niger. Black, a blackamoor or black slave. Now notice how the Moor and the black slave, they are both put in the category of Negro, which is now being used as a racial classification, anthropologically speaking. So they are both categorized as Negro. However, one is being referred to as a Moor and the other is being referred to as a slave. So does that mean that they are not both of the same race? Well, we know that The French and the Irish, they represent different nations, different cultures, but they are both of the same race. They are just different people. Not all black people or those who are categorized as Negro, they are not all the same. They do not represent the same nation or tribe, but they would still be classified, anthropologically speaking, they would be classified as Negro or black. At one time, black was synonymous with Negro. In fact, with the initial racial classifications, there was no differentiation between black and Negro. In fact, we were put in the category of Ethiops, those with burnt faces, black people. But they eventually decided to tag those who they chose to enslave as being Negro. Now, with the N word, it was believed to have been spelled with just one G, what we would now pronounce as Niger today, or Niger. And that just basically means black. It did not necessarily mean anything derogatory. In fact, you can find that term in the Bible. But could Negro, could that be a combination of Niger or Niger and Igbo? And these were the primary people chosen to ship off into slavery, into the Americas. Just something to think about. But anyways, in these definitions and descriptions, you do not see the terms Berber, Muslim, or even Arab. And according to Strong Concordance, Arab derives from Arab or Arab, which means mixture or mixed company. Many Bible believers are taught that the Arabs are the descendants of Ishmael, the son of Abraham, his firstborn son, the Shemitic descendant of Eber or Hebrew, and Hagar, the Hamitic Egyptian. But these were both black people, or they would be put in the category of black by race, anthropologically speaking, even if they were not of the same nation. What you see as Arabs today, or what is primarily shown to you through the media, do not represent the original descendants of Ishmael, but an admixture which includes the Turks, Romans, Greeks, Edomites, just as Hispanics or Latinos represent more of a culture or ethnicity and not necessarily a single nation or race of people, anthropologically speaking. And Berber basically referred to strangers. It means foreigners, particularly supposed foreigners to Rome or Iberia. So, could there be a differentiation between the Berbers of North Africa and the Berberians or barbarians? Could Berberian or barbarian refer to the Berbers of the Aryan race? And why is it that European tradition recognizes the Moors as obviously being black? In fact, they are in blackface, and they are appearing very dark here, much like what you see with the crest of Europe. From the Dilemma X site, 2019, this was January of this year. Spain annual blackface parade reflects the history of when African Moors ruled over the Iberian Peninsula. Thousands gathered in Alcoy, Spain on January 5, 2019 to attest the oldest Three Kings parade in Spain, notable for the hundreds of teens dressed as royal pages and donning blackface. The kings paraded the streets, kissing children, while the 440 royal pages, aged 16 to 18, handed out gifts, often climbing ladders to deliver them through the windows of apartments. Reminiscent of other notable blackface traditions in Europe, such as Black Pete in the Netherlands, the figure has been the subject of some controversy as it can be seen as being racially insensitive. The Festival of Moors and Christians is the most important event of the year in Alcoy. It is dedicated to San Jorge, a figure shrouded in ancestral traditions. The festival dates back to the 1500s and commemorates a battle which was fought in 1276. At that time, Alcoy stood on the border of the Muslim African Black Moorish held territories of Spain. There were frequent skirmishes between the two factions until, on April 23, 1276, the Muslim troops of Al-Azraq attempted to storm the town. According to legend, San Jorge, or San George, appeared during the battle, and thanks to his intervention, the Christian army won the day, forcing the Muslims to retreat and never to return. In recognition of his timely intercession, the townsfolk of Alcoy made him their patron saint and promised to hold a festival in his honor. Now, I may not be pronouncing this correctly. Zwarte Piet, English Black Pete or Black Peter, is a companion of Saint Nicholas in the folklore of the Low Countries. The character first appeared in an 1850 book by Amsterdam schoolteacher Jan Schenkman. Traditionally, Zwarte Piet is black because he is a Moor from Spain. Those portraying Zwarte Piet usually put on blackface makeup and colorful Renaissance attire, in addition to curly wigs and bright red lipstick. In recent years, the character has become the subject of controversy. Now, notice here that it says in Wikipedia that Zwarte Piet or Black Pete is black because he is a Moor from Spain. However, if you look up the definition of Moor in Wikipedia, they are going to describe the Moors as everything but black. Just as 1 minute, the descendants of Cush or the Ethiopians or Nubians, they're black, and then the next, they're describing the black Hamitic as being Caucasian. Why are there so many paintings and artist depictions of Moors being black and not just as black servants? Why do we see so many images of black people in power described as being Moors? And many of these paintings were painted by Caucasian Europeans. So you cannot say that this is Afrocentric mumble jumble. If you cannot stop and explain this all to me, then do not bother commenting to me. First, address what I have presented here. And we're not done. No, we're not done.